Hi folks, welcome back to Stacey Can. Today I am making plum sauce. I got a bunch of plums today from a very dear friend's mother who we went to her house and picked a bunch of plums, and now I'm preserving them in a variety of ways, and plum sauce is one of the ways I'm going to do that. I've got this recipe from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, and just make sure that you grab the edition that is the most recent edition. So just check that out, new and updated version. Just you want the most recent tested recipes, as that's the safest way to preserve food. So while I go over all of this, you can follow along in the directions down in the show notes, and also hit like and subscribe while you're down there because that does help. So the ingredients that you need are 2 cups of lightly packed brown sugar, a cup of regular white sugar, a cup of cider vinegar. Make sure it's 5% acidity. That is very, very important. 3/4 of a cup of chopped onion. We need 2 tablespoons of a finely chopped seeded green chili pepper. I'm using a jalapeno. You can also use, what did they say? You could use Anaheim, New Mexico green chili, poblano, or the jalapeno. The jalapeno is hotter, so I'm using a jalapeno because I like a little heat. So that's what I'm using there. There's a variety of peppers for you to think about if you need to make a decision there. Let's see, 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, a tablespoon of salt, 2 garlic cloves that are peeled and finely chopped, a tablespoon of ginger root that is finely chopped. I'm probably going to grate that a little bit just to give it the fineness that I need there. And then 10 cups of plums that are pitted and finely chopped. So I could might possibly get my, what's it called, my food processor out, just kind of make this process go a little bit quicker for the finely chopped part there. It'll just make it faster, but I haven't made that decision yet. I'll figure that out as I go. So that's an option, or you can just use a regular knife, which brings us to the tools. You will need a knife of some sort. We're gonna need our lid lifter because I am heating the lids a little bit, a ladle, our Headspace tool, a jar lifter, and a chopstick because we are definitely bubbling, and also a funnel. We're doing a 1/2-inch Headspace today. We need, I need a dish towel. You need a pot or a bowl to put your lids in to heat them up if you would like. You don't have to, but I like to just kind of wash off that filmy layer that comes from the box from the factory. That's just me. A big stock pot, and you need a canner to water bath your jars in. And so with all of that, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing I'm going to do is measure out the dry and the wet ingredients, and then get to chopping the onion and garlic, ginger root, and pepper. Got all the ingredients except for the plums peeled and measured and prepped. I did end up using my food processor because it was much faster, and then all the chopping. And I did go ahead and peel the ginger. You don't have to if you don't want to. To peel it, you just use a spoon and scrape the skin off if you want. And mine was kind of big and it was sort of getting a little hard, so I ended up using a paring knife because it was a much bigger ginger root and it was easier to peel. And I only needed 2 tablespoons, and it was going bad, so I had to use it all. Anyway, that's how I got started here, and on to prepping the plums. So I'm just prepping the plums, and I'm following the seam, cutting it down in the middle there, and then pulling the seed out, and just putting the halves in the food processor because I'm going to use that to chop them up finally. While I'm prepping the plums there, I'm going to go ahead and get going on boiling the sauce part of it. So I've got the 2 cups of brown sugar, the cup of regular white sugar, cup of apple cider vinegar that is 5% acidity, 3/4 of a cup of finely chopped onion, 2 tablespoons of the finely chopped seeded green chili pepper, and I used a jalapeno. I'm just getting all the nice good juice out of it too. 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds, a tablespoon of salt. Got the 2 garlic cloves that have been finely chopped, and the tablespoon of ginger root that is finely chopped. I'm gonna bring this up, turn the heat on high, and give it a good stir. I've got everything combined except for the plums into the pot here, and I've got the heat up to high, and I'm gonna bring this to a boil, stirring constantly, and then we'll add the plums. Got the high heat going here, a good rolling boil. So now I'm gonna put in all 10 cups of the plums that are finely chopped, and I did finely chop these in a food processor. And we're gonna bring this back to a boil. I have a nice boil going here, so I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit, and we're gonna gently boil this until it becomes syrupy, which will take about an hour and 45 minutes or so. So I am gonna set a timer for an hour and just keep an eye on it, and then add more time if needed. And I'll see you back when it's a little more syrupy. So this sauce is doing a really good job of cooking down and thickening up, but it's a little too chunky for my taste. So I am gonna use an Immersion Blender to kind of cream it up a little bit. You could do the same thing with a regular blender or a food processor. And this is the consistency that I'm liking. It's thickened up quite a bit, and it just, it's saucy like you want it to be, and it's just not as chunky. So I'm gonna cook it for just a little bit longer, and we'll go from there. But boy, the Immersion Blender worked well. So I've got it at the consistency I want it at, which is about here. You know, it's just kind of saucy and a little syrupy, which is the consistency you're looking for with a plum sauce, in my opinion. So we're gonna go ahead and start jarring it up. It took a little less than, took about an hour and a half to get the consistency to get to this level here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start jarring it up, just for your information. I mean, it could go in a different way depending on, you know, the climate outside, etc. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's a little more humid, it's gonna go a little quicker. And we're filling this to a 1/2 inch headspace. Run the chopstick around the edges as we bubble. Definitely want to bubble. And I'm going to check the, that looks really good. And I'm going to use my lid water to clean the rim of the jar here. Got my lid lifter. Adding the lid. Or band, whatever you call it. Okay, and we're just fingertip tight, that's it. And then you want to just lift it up and over and into the canner it goes. Do not tip or tilt. I got all the jars in the canner now, so I've turned the heat up to high on the canner. And when it comes to a rolling boil, I'll set the timer for my altitude. Canner has come to a rolling boil, so I've set the timer for 20 minutes for my altitude. For more altitude information in your area, go ahead and look over to the side here or down below in the show notes. The 20-minute timer has gone off, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat. Then I'm going to carefully lift the lid. gonna lift the lid away from your face. Make sure that steam is hot and it'll give you a facial you don't want. And I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. This will allow the food in the jars to settle, and it helps with the sealing process so you don't get food in between the lid and the rim of the jar. 5-minute timer has gone off, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the jars from the canner. We have 2 that have already sealed. And look at that plummy goodness. And this is how we make a plum sauce. And it's so good. So tasty and delicious. I have a neighbor who's using some right now over her grilled peppers and onions and carrots that she drizzled some of this plum sauce over, because this is my second batch, and it's that's just gonna be delectable. It's also really great with as a marinade with chicken or your favorite, you use pork, what have you. It's really tasty, very tasty. You can just use it as a drizzle over tofu, however you want. It is just a great sauce. So I recommend giving it a try. It's so good, very tasty. Like what you would have in a restaurant, but better by a lot. So it is worth it if you're interested. So the recipe for this is down below, and while you're down there, please hit like and subscribe, because that does help. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, concerns, by all means, please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Stacey Can. You can at me on Instagram and TikTok at Stacey Can. My website is www.staceycancan.com, and my email is info@staceycancan.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn at Stacey Can. Thanks so much for joining me today, and until next time, happy canning.